Right now, I'm actually being filmed. I didn't realize that. I'm next to Pomona, and I'm next to my good friend Matt. And I'm here. I feel like I have to make you laugh. Anyway, what I want to say is,
Buckwheat, buckwheat, seed of flowering fruit. Buckwheat, buckwheat, seed of flowering fruit.
Yay! I did it. Anyway, why don't you talk about? You're here. We're in your apartment right now.
More importantly, you're here.
I'm here.
You're always here.
That's right. I'm here. You're always here. Wow. That's brilliant. And I actually.
Well, you're visiting now.
I'm visiting now. But I brought some watermelon for you. And we started to do some videos
It's
together.
not why you came, but...
No. I came because, actually, you're my vacation.
Yeah.
I come to Matt's basement apartment to make sure I have to get socks. I get really... and Matt walks around no socks. And no shoes.
Yeah.
So he said, make myself at home. Anyway, why don't you talk about buckwheat,
When in Rome.
watermelon, and drugs? Yeah. We said you're a serious guy.
No, I
Yeah.
said I take the...
Took drugs seriously.
yeah, well, the drug and mental illness angle. So we were talking about making videos, right?
Right.
And I said that sometimes I'll do videos about drugs. But I don't do them a lot because I take them seriously. And I want to make it like really. But now you put me on the spot.
Good. I always do that.
Yeah. Well, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about.
You took drugs.
I took drugs.
You took serious drugs, right?
Yeah.
And you went from serious drugs to watermelon.
Yeah.
Where's the connection?
Okay. Serious drugs was about a decade of serious drugs, about 10 years.
10 years.
Well, 9 years. And it was a really quick progression, but it was mostly just about becoming more conscious, I guess. See, the thing was, it was like my empathy was too strong when I was a kid. My empathy was too strong. I get really upset about things that was going on in the world or with other people. You know.
I still do.
Yeah. Right. So.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do about that. And you're a kid. You're not trained really. You don't really. It's kind of like it's that whole like kill or be killed world out there. So it's really not. You don't have time to worry about other people. So I started using drugs and food first.
As a food.
Food first. When I was really little, I used to like hide food in my room under my bed closet, and I was overweight. I always feel guilty about eating, so I would hide it, and that would make it worse, obviously. And so I was really overweight, and then I got into drugs really early, like 12, 13.
As a way to sympathize with the world's problems?
Yeah, really. I mean, it was like a double thing. It was I needed to numb myself because I was too sensitive to it, and the second one was I felt like everybody around me was miserable. Like the whole life that everybody was saying, like, oh, this is the American dream, and all this stuff. I was like, well, you're miserable. You can't tell me that's the best way to do it. But I knew when we were studying drugs in like school, like drug prevention or whatever, they'd say, you know, these are the things that happen when you take drugs. And I thought, that sounds amazing. Give me some of that. So I did that as opposed to what everybody else was doing to say I should be doing, but they weren't happy doing it. So I did drugs for a long time.
10 years.
Yeah. But when I was in high school, I was sort of like, I was really smart, but I was manipulative with myself. So I was like football guy, preppy guy. That's not who I was, but that's who I was because I knew that I didn't have to do homework. I got through everything. It was just a smart thing to do at that point. But that led to more drug use and more abuse because I was just lying to myself. I was living as somebody else.
Did you have a good time though?
What? Well, when I was high, when they worked, but then for a while it stops. You're just really just doing drugs to be normal at that point. But
you did drugs to be normal.
At a certain point, when you're doing a lot of drugs, you first start doing it's great and you're really high, and there's an element of that the whole way through. I mean, a lot of times you just have to do more and more and more, and you can always do more. But at a certain point, you just kind of like you don't even feel normal unless you're hit up. But there was basically like a point in my life where I started like getting really angry about. Basically, the drug thing was about avoiding anger and avoiding pain. But I started getting angry about what was going on in the world, like socioeconomically and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't know what to do about it. And then eventually, it wasn't until like I'm kind of giving a very, very much abridged version, but it wasn't until I realized that
you got 10 years. Hurry up. 10 years and 3 minutes. Make it fast.
It wasn't until I realized that I was doing all those things to myself. So like the corruption that I was upset about, I was doing that to myself. The environmental pollution, I was polluting myself. Like this microcosm of me that is this world, I was corrupting my mind with the drugs and with my anger, with my thought patterns, and I was polluting my body with drugs and the different kinds of food I was eating, and I was contributing to slavery and oppression through eating animals. So all these things were like, it was like this thing that happened to me where I had a choice to make. I could either accept all those things in a really intense way.
Do most drugs think like that?
What?
Yeah, most drugs think like that.
I think there's an element of it to all drug use. I mean, look at like a lot of tortured artists. They get into drugs because they're perceiving something higher, but they don't have the capacity in their body to process it. They don't have the references from when through their conditioning or education to process what's actually going on. So it's like too intense, and they have to find some way to numb it or to like transmute it in a certain way. And drugs are a way you can do that. So I think there are people who do drugs for that, but I think a lot of people who do drugs, it's more of like a just it's like nihilistic, really. There's like nihilistic drug use, but the other thing, there's different kinds of drugs. So like when I first started doing drugs, it was like PCP and alcohol and cocaine and all that kind of stuff. But when you get into, and that's like really just more of synthetic and just really kind of a numbing and just getting high. But then you get into the drugs like the LSD and the peyote and the mescaline and that kind of stuff, where there is a, I don't know if I want to glorify it by calling it consciousness raising, but it makes you sensitive or aware of other tangible realities. You know, it just really breaks your mind out of the conditioning, you know, the really limited conditioning. So I'm not saying it's like a great way to go. It worked, it had benefit for me, but then eventually you have to get rid of all that, you know. So
What's your more now?
And then well, that's the other thing. Okay, so now that's a good segue.
Oh, good segue.
So when I was realizing that I was doing all those things in my body, that's what the internal problem was. I had to then find a way to turn my life around. So it was either like I reached sort of the bottom of the barrel and realized why I was there, and I could make two choices. I could keep going and become dead or in jail or whatever, or I could turn around completely and find what I was looking for with the drugs through life, through living. And so first thing I did was I became vegetarian when I was still doing drugs, and then eventually worked my way up to where I was like really aware, researching a lot, reading a lot of things, and then raw food came into play. Jen, remember Jen?
Jen Bell?
No, Jen.
Sorry, Jen. I knew Jen. From Sri Nike?
Yeah, Sri Nike. Sri Nike, that's a funny name.
I remember her.
Yeah, she turned me on to raw food.
Wow.
Through a friend of mine at the time, and and when I heard that, it was like to me it was a spark, because it was like, okay, food was the way I started going the wrong way. It was like what I used for a lot of my drug use in the beginning, and so realizing that this is such a spiritual way to live, you know, understanding the life force and like really seeing things at their essence, you know, the energy, the nourishment's coming in its most essential form, right? So getting it that way was really a really great transition. So like I was able to just kind of like grab it and run with it, and I was like 100% raw within a week.
Wow.
And then it was just like
just 100% raw?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing is, it's like, for me it was so easy because that's all I wanted. Like when I was doing drugs, I was doing a lot of drugs. It's like, why are people not doing drugs? It makes you feel so good,
drugs?
Right? Like, why do you want to live longer if your life's mediocre?
Right.
So like when I started realizing like, wow, here it is. Like I can reach that thing without the bad parts, without the crashes, without the downs. I can get that. So it was like, for me, it wasn't a matter of like a challenge to how can I go raw. It was like, oh, awesome. It's like the veil had been lifted and I'd just been put into it. And
now you're creating this garden lifestyle. What you want to share?
Yeah, that's the next phase.
We're going to start our show tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do all
We'll do that tomorrow. So, should I say the thing when I ended?
Sure.
Stay tuned for tomorrow.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I'll be here with you. Sure.
Anyway, live from Mark. No, actually, live from Matthew's way with Pomona, who actually knows all the secrets of life.
She's tired.
She's tired.
Secret of life is rest.
Secret of life is rest. Secret of life is also getting your socks and just show your bare feet. Okay, live. Why do you say where we're from?
Live from Garden Town. Live from Garden Town.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye. Okay.